Welcome to the Swoop report for February. Let's talk everything that happened in Feb. Let's get into it. Before we get into it, when you're seeing this, hearing this, the t-shirts are ready to go. They're up on my Shopify right now. The link is down below. It's literally the best way to support the channel. I'm ready to send those out. The hats as well, I'll be getting them this week, so I'm very, very excited for that. They've passed the checks at the factory in Perth and stuff like that, so I'm super excited. But these tees are sick. I'm wearing a small, obviously, but they're pretty big. Another thing as well is on Mondays, I'll be doing my a new tipping series that I've never done on this channel before, because if you enter the free tipping comp, you get to win this. Now, this I bought myself from an event that I went to. It is signed by Norm Smith medalist Bobby Hill, which is that one. And over on the other side is by Steel Sidebottom, that 100-meter goal that he kicked. So two of the most iconic players in that grand final have signed that. And it is free entry. The link is down below for that too. But now, let's get to the Swoop report. So thankfully, there's not much to report on in February. What we'll do is we'll start with the injury news. So I've got a bit of our injury list up here. So we know about Tom Mitchell. We've talked about that. Jordan De Goey is touch and go for season 2025 for the opening round. He may play, he may not play. Braden Maynard was rested in the match simulation and against Richmond in the Community Shield game. They reckon that he's definitely more likely to play than Jordan De Goey, so expect Maynard to be in the opening round up in Sydney against the Giants. Joel Cochran has done his rib. He's expected to play in the opening round. He'll play through the VFL, of course. Mason Cox, he broke his pinky. He won't be training for another 2 or 3 weeks, so in contact training. So we've talked a lot about it before. Maybe we'll go into it a little bit later. Memory slots right in for Mason Cox, so there's not the will they, won't they. Finn McRae's shoulder, expected return in 3 to 4 weeks. And Ilaru Smith, so he's done his larynx, and I'm pretty sure the larynx is in your throat. I don't know what happened, but he's expected rounds 4 to 5. So that sucks for Smitty. I've got big raps on him, but keen to see what Oscar Steen can do in the VFL. Now, in February, we had 2 games, technically 3 games. We'll start with the match simulation against Gold Coast and the match simulation against Brisbane on the same night. We lost both of those games, but I don't think that really mattered. Well, not that I don't think, I know it doesn't really matter. It was just nice to see the boys absolutely go about it. We saw some new kids. Will Hayes impressed. The thing with that match simulation game, because it was split into 2 halves, we saw 2 different Collingwood sides, obviously filled with VFL players, but I think we saw 2 different game plans as well. One game plan was very much along the boundaries, one game plan was down the middle. So we get to see a nice little mix of both of those and what that means going forward. It was a really good hit out. You know, it was just nice to just see the boys back. I obviously flew up to the Gold Coast, and that was really fun. So they had a week there. So meeting all the Queensland fans, and shout out to the Queensland Magpies supporter club, Matt Moore, who does that. Shout out, dude, absolutely incredible up there. Thank you for inviting me over and stuff. It was beautiful. But yeah, the match simulation, I wouldn't take too much out of it. I know there was already some alarm bells a bit defensively, and yes, in my reviews that I did say you can't take much out of it, but there are things that we can sort of tighten up on, and that was that defense. But you got to remember, it was a bit of a mix, but the boys just dusted off their cobwebs, and we go again. Now, the second match literally just happened a few days ago. It was the Charity Shield game Community Shield game. Sorry, Charity Shield is the EPL. The Community Shield game against Richmond. We ran out 83-point winners, and there were a lot to take out of that. It's probably our strongest side going forward, minus, Braden Maynard wasn't there, Titch wasn't there, Jordan De Goey wasn't there, Mason Cox. So these bigger sort of named players weren't playing. But it was just incredible to see what a fit and firing Magpie unit can do. Now, in that game, the 3Ms, Mycheck, Membry, and McStay combined for 10 goals, along with Bobby Hill, had kicked 4 goals. So Bobby Hill in the Indigenous All-Star games kicked 4 goals. In this game, he kicked 4 goals. He's kicked 8 goals in 2 weeks. So I think Bobby is on a trajectory to kick 40, 45 goals this season, especially because he doesn't have to play tall. And I think that's one of the biggest takeaway from this game is that we don't have to have Jamie Elliott, Will Hoskin-Elliott, whoever, Lockie Schultz playing tall in that forward line. They're not our key forwards anymore. We've got a three-pronged attack finally, and it worked wonders. I know. Oh, it's against Richmond. I know. What do you want me to do? Not be happy? I'm happy. I'm stoked that we're finally seeing something that we haven't had in our forward arsenal. I don't know. I want to say 2011, Travis Cloke, Chris Dawes, that sort of thing. But I haven't seen this for a long time. It's something to get excited about against the Giants when the real thing starts. Something else to take out of that was, when teams play that kick and mark game, which we saw that they did last year a lot to take away our run, we are lagging a little bit, even against Richmond. Richmond's first half was incredible. They had the exact same scoring shots as us. They just weren't accurate. They had more inside 50s, so our defense was getting peppered. Now, we definitely need to tighten up on that. And it's not a worry yet. Maybe round 5 or 6, if we're, 1-4 or whatever it may be, then it'll start to be a worry. But I think they still were trialing a little bit of things, and Reece McGuinness is still learning that role. Darcy Moore's still learning how to have a Nathan Murphy back in that role. So the first few rounds are going to be still a bit of a learning curve, but I think we did enough in that game to show that we are going to contend for at least a top 8 spot. Now, get rid of grand final talks. I don't know if that's what I'm doing, or top 4 talks. We can at least contend for that top 8 spot, because you've got to remember that last season we had at one point 15 or 17 injuries on our injury list. Sorry, 17 players on our injury list. And then we still only missed out by percentage. So I think we're in a really, really, really good spot. Another big sort of news that came out was our leadership group. So Darcy Moore will lead the club again. This will be his 3rd season leading the club, which is incredible. I love him as a captain. I love him as a person. Just seems like just amazing, exactly what Collingwood need for this new era that we've sort of had these last few years. Vice captains are Braden Maynard and Nick Dacos, and rounding out the leadership group, Jamie Elliott for the first time, Dan McStay, Darcy Cameron, Isaac Quaynor. Now, in my video predicting the leadership group, I said we need at least someone in every single line, and that's exactly what we got. Let me just take a second to talk about Darcy Cameron's rise. From literally a Ned Guy special, a bag of chips to Sydney, he's now a premiership ruckman, was in the top 40 for the All-Australian, squad. And now he is in the leadership group. Now, that is just absolutely incredible. And Darcy Cameron is going to go to another level this season. Nick Dacos as vice captain. What more can you say about Nick? I think this is the natural progression, and it's definitely the natural progression to captain. You can see him captaining the club for probably as long as Pendlebury captained the club, in my humble opinion. And Braden Maynard as vice captain. Like, who else would you want as your vice captain, leading you, pulling you up by the scruff of your neck, than Braden Maynard? Another big bit of news that we haven't talked about yet is Darcy Cameron, we just talked about Darcy Cameron, and Bobby Hill are looking at signing extensions really soon. Darcy Cameron taking him to 2028 and Bobby Hill taking him to 2030, which is incredible. So there's a lot of talk about does Bobby Hill want to go back to the West, and he was just there for the Indigenous All-Stars. Does he miss his family? But if we can get Bobby and Cameron signed, that is huge. That is especially Bobby, right? Especially Bobby, and it stops that sort of talk. I don't think they're going to get announced anytime soon, but they're working on it, and that's what it's being reported, that they are in line to get those extensions. Now, there's a bunch of other players that would need extensions, but the biggest name would be Braden Maynard. And just how that's going. But he's indicated that he obviously wants to stay at the club. Couldn't imagine himself in any other colours besides black and white. And look, that's pretty much it for February. It was a short month, obviously 28 days, and there wasn't a lot of news, which is good. No news is good news. A couple of games under our belt. We take on the Giants this week. Get ready for a big Collingwood season. Get ready for a big Swoop season. I'm also on Spotify, so if you just want to listen to this or future episodes in your car, on your commute, on the treadmill, whatever it may be, on a walk with the dogs, I'm on Spotify now. I'll leave the link down for that below. But Until then, like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets, and until next time, double shackers, I'll swoop you later.